Now, it was revealed that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak does not eat on Mondays because of intermittent fasting.
He's been following the habit for years to stay in shape and to follow principles in line with his very strong Hindu beliefs, which, of course, encourages fasting.
So joining us now to give us an insight into this, we're joined by Chief Operating Officer for the Conservative Friends of the Commonwealth, Sunil Sharma. Sunil, good morning. Good to see you. Now, you are also Hindu, I believe. Is that right? You're Hindu. Now, explain to us why this forms part of the religion and the culture and what the significance is of fasting.
Yes, sure. In the Hindu religion, fasting isn't a obligation. It's more of a moral and spiritual act. So you're not forced to fast. So it's very much a choice that people make. There are certain days that Hindus will particularly fast on, depending on if you effectively what God they pray to the most, or the one that had the biggest devotees. So, for example, Mondays is Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu on Thursdays. So it's very much on sort of spiritual element, just trying to self-discipline is another a part of it as well. So some people do an outright fast, which is what Rishi Sunak does for those 6 hours. Some may not eat meat for Mondays and Tuesdays. It's a kind of concept of sort of self-discipline, if you like.
Are you surprised that it's a 36-hour fast, Sunil? Because that is a long time.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I think I would definitely struggle with the 36 hours. But, it is there are lots of examples about it being a very physical benefits to it. So it's not too far off the 5-2 system, which is, what a lot of people do anywhere in this country. So it's not effectively that abnormal. You see it very popular in sort of, I think with even weightlifting or just even in different shapes of life. So there's definitely physical benefits and mental health benefits towards it. And I'm guessing in his sort of job in terms of the stresses that he deals with on a day-to-day basis, I think this is one thing he can control.
Well, some people say he can be tetchy, and I've seen him be tetchy. I wonder if you become a bit tetchy if you haven't had any food for 36 hours. I think I'd be tetchy if I didn't have food for...
You're tetchy anyway.
You think I'm tetchy, see her. But, he has got this reputation for being a bit tetchy. I wonder if that could be influenced by his fasting.
He's hangry.
Well, it could be. He's also teetotal, so that could play a part. I think that the reality is, I think fasting, if he's been doing it for as long as he says he has been doing it for, then I think he would have gone past that period of the tetchiness and the struggles of it. I think it's something that he's done, it seems like, throughout his whole life. And I think it's a good example of him just showing a bit more about himself in terms of who is Rishi Sunak, which is, I think, a big question for a lot of people who, regardless of conservative or not, who is the man behind this person that we see on TV as Prime Minister. So I think it's a good thing that he's opening up into who he is as a man.
And do you know what's in it? I wrote about this actually for the gbnews.com website, which you can go and look at any time after this programme finishes, about this particular story, because I quite like this element of Rishi Sunak, because we are mammals, okay, and we are cavemen. And we forget that we're cavemen. And when you're hungry, you're ready to go out and hunt your woolly mammoth. Now, in his case, it might be take on Keir Starmer, or make some tough policy decision whilst he's primed for action. I quite like this insight into him, actually. Do you think we should know more about him like this? Because it does humanise him, a man that we often say is very robotic technocrat.
Definitely. I think, it's good to see who this person is. I think one of the things, especially in the celebrity culture that we live in now, people are more interested, even if they don't agree with it, even if they don't love it. The fact that we can actually see this as a real person, not somebody who is, has an auto cue or somebody who just read off a script. But we're seeing things that are really good about him, and I think it's really interesting to hear more about. I'm obviously a bit biased, but the Hindu side, the cultural side. But then, just even him as a person, I wish he would be more open about this. Just talk about his, even when he talks about his family wealth, be more acknowledged. My parents and my in-laws, and they're very successful. They've made a lot of money. I think this is a good example, and hopefully he carries on in this vein.
And Sunil, we know he goes to temple, but we don't know much about how often he goes or when he goes. And I understand he's got a statue of Lord Shiva, who you mentioned, actually on his desk in his Downing Street study.
Well, that would make sense because, that he fasts on Mondays, and people who are devotees of Lord Shiva tend to fast on Mondays. So that all makes sense. I mean, I think this is a good opportunity for him to open up about himself and even talk more about his faith. You know, we are I think one of the things that's been lost in the UK is the fact that we are built on Judeo-Christian values, and there is some overlap with some of the Hindu values in terms of the faith. So I think for him being a bit more open about his faith, I think will only help him. And also, I think one of the issues I've seen on GB News talk a lot about is reactivating that conservative base. I think this is a great example of something that could help reignite that.
Just tell us, just the God that he must feel most closely aligned to is the Monday. Was it Shiva?
Lord Shiva.
Lord Shiva, thank you. Is that the Lord, or the God of making your wishes come true? Have I understood that correctly, Sunil?
Yes, I mean, I think Lord Ganesh is the one that's like the elephant god, which is like the best of luck and this sort of stuff. Lord Shiva's a bit more of a destroyer, so it's a bit more destructive. So maybe he's going to use this going forward with Sikir Starman for the election. So who knows? But I think it's fascinating. You know, there's so much to this. I mean, the fasting stuff we could talk about in a lot of detail, but we're seeing a lot of the adaptations of the Hindu culture in Western civilization, the spiritual form, which I think we're much more interested in now with mental health, yoga, meditation. These are very Hindu cultures that have been around for centuries. So it's good to see Rishi Sunak almost embracing that.
Opening up about it. Okay, great to see you. Sunil Sharma there. From the Conservative Friends of the Commonwealth. We have got Dawn Nixon and Tonya Buxton in the studio with us now.
Tonya's a foodie, isn't she?
You were nodding away with that because even though you're a foodie, you're quite a fan of fasting, aren't you?
Well, actually, I've gone full circle with fasting, and there is a big differentiation between men fasting and women fasting. And exactly for what you said, because the men were the hunters. And so actually they become more alert and sharper with prolonged periods of fasting. But with women, it can have negative effects on their thyroid and bone density and muscle loss. So this is really interesting. Everybody should do a 12-hour fast at night, you know. Finish eating at 7, don't eat again till 7 in the morning. Everyone should do that because it's autophagy, which is you eat off all the bad cells. So it's really good for you. But 36 hours, I used to do that every week.
Did you?
So yeah, finish eating at 7 o'clock on Sunday night and not eat again till Tuesday morning. And I mean, I felt really good on it, and you do feel slightly wired on it. But as a woman, it wasn't so great. So I understand why he does it. It's a good thing, especially for men to do, but not so great for women. You need to watch out if you're a woman.
Dawn, you are, for you, your body is a temple. You're up on the...
It is slightly ruined, really, to be honest with you.
But you love your exercise. You're in great nick, aren't you?
Well, I do love my sport. I've always done sport. Pretty similar to yourself, Bev. So for me, I completely understand what Tonya's saying about fasting. And it does give you a high as well. It really does give you a high, which is dangerous if you're even slightly prone to eating disorders. But for me, if you're training, you're doing a lot of sport. And I know Rishi Sunak does like his peloton. He does the cycling, doesn't he? So I'm curious to how he balances that with the training that he does. When you're doing a lot of sport, you know, Ben, you're a swimmer. You can't
fast.
You need fuel.
He's very influenced in this by his wife, apparently, who's also into fasting. I wonder if the children do too, because they've got 2 daughters.
On it. I mean, they're both very slight, very slim. But as I said, I think the danger with this story, and I think it's a great story and fair play to him, but I think there are lots of people with eating disorders, men and women out there, who are going, oh, that sounds like basically the back of a good excuse not to eat for 36 hours. I think it's quite triggering as well to talk about these.
Oh, you can't live your life worrying about
No.
people with eating disorders, just like you can't live your life worrying about people's sensibilities.
No,
the reality
I think it's an element of this that does
fair
need
enough,
to be
but
taken into...
you know, it is good for you to a certain extent. You know, we eat too much.
Could it be the reason he's touchy?
Yes.
That's interesting.
It could be the reason. Actually, initially, you know, so when I used to do these fasts, I was fine in the morning when I woke up, so finished eating Sunday night. Monday morning I'd be fine. Monday, all day I'd be fine. Towards the end of Monday evening, I would start to get that hangry feeling. So you don't want to be scheduling a meeting with Rishi Sunak Monday afternoon.
And the President of the United States.
No, you don't want to be doing
7
that
o'clock
on
on a Monday evening.
I do like the fact that I feel like we've got to know him a bit through this story.
Definitely,
I really do, and I don't think he should shy away from that, actually, from the
But
topic.
the other thing I wanted to talk to Tonya about on this one in particular is he's a big fan of our Coca-Cola drinks, Diet Coca-Cola drinks. Tonya's shaking her. She's already given me a lecture this morning about having one and how bad it is for you.
But it's full of sugar.
It's not
No,
just
no,
the
it's
sugar.
sugar-free.
Andrew, it's not the sugar. It's the fact that if you drink these carbonated drinks, they leach calcium out of your bones.
Oh.
And we are all ladies of a certain age. We cannot afford
Well,
to have
speak for yourself.
calcium
Speak for
leached out.
yourself, if you don't mind.
And then these
Oh, right, very glad to hear that.